Okay, and this meeting is being recorded. So I guess if anyone objects, please drop now or forever hold your peace. This is Ava Terry, and Maureen Kennard and I have been kind of leading this group for going on 9 years now. I guess today marks the 9-year mark.
Yes, just a decade, guys.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome, and it's all because of the participants as well as the different partners that are willing to sponsor these meetings. And I don't know who all was on before, but so Marina's going to start looking at dates for next year, and more than likely the February and May meetings will still be virtual. And then hopefully by August, we will start being able to be together. So today, our sponsoring partner is eCapital Advisors, and we always enjoy whenever they host. They always have a good lineup and some great ideas for content. And with that, I will turn it over to Jake.
Yeah, sounds good. Just before we do that, I do want to go over the agenda really quickly so everyone has a good idea of, hey, what's the plan for the meeting. So give me 1 second to pull that up. And the two caveats I'll give to my presentation is I do have some now. It shouldn't cause any issues, but just in case you lose me for a second, I should come back on. It's just the internet at my house today is just not playing nice with me. So give me 2 seconds to just pull up the agenda. Or if Ryan, if you can just reshare your screen to show it quickly.
And I have it too, if needed. But I can't share my screen. Oops, I can share my screen now. Thank you.
Here you go. I just passed it on to you.
Okay. So it's not pretty. It's not pretty, but here is the agenda for today. So work smarter, not harder.
Go over it.
Oops, are you ready to go?
So I'll start. So I'll start it off with just this quick RPA demo. For those who don't know, RPA is robotic process automation. We're going to show some really cool integration system. After that, we're going to pass off the microphone. I'll pass off the microphone to Brady and Mitch to give a really cool kind of overview on some great tips and tricks. We'll then have a little break for just to, get some food, get some bathroom. I know for me, it's get more coffee. And then we'll have a new feature alert, go over the roadmap, which I know everyone loves to look at, and then do a quick trivia event just to kind of sum up everything and kind of leave off on a good note before we continue the rest of our afternoons. So with that being said, I'm now ready to go. So Ryan, if you can let me share.
Ready to go for you, Jake.
Awesome. And just a quick check, can everyone see my screen?
Yep.
Perfect. So before I even start going over RPA and how it integrates, I want to go over a little bit of why RPA became a tool and why it's such an exciting thing in the industry today. So when I look at new software and new to help us run our business, the first thing I look at is what are the challenges that it's really trying to solve. And the way I've summed it up for RPA is what I call the 3 C's: consistency, complexity, and culture, right? Let's face it, right? Everyone makes mistakes. I do too. And sometimes these mistakes, even if they're very small, can lead to really large downstream costs. We've all been there when we've miskeyed something and all of a sudden one of our customers is getting a bill that's 10 times the amount that it should have been. And the reason we also run into these consistency problems is because of the increased complexity we see in the workplace today, right? We keep adding on more and more tools, both internal and enterprise solutions that really need us to understand how they work and of course the tools to really, successfully navigate everything we need to do on a day-to-day basis. But with these new tools, we run into the necessity to have these long training sessions to be able to understand how they all play together. And of course, as we keep adding on things and more things to our plates, we go back and run into problems, small consistency errors. And what happens is when we keep adding all these tools and all these processes and all this manual work we need to do, we end up having a cultural problem. And this is the one that speaks closest to me, right? We want to work on, at least I do, really fun strategic projects, right? And unfortunately, when we're doing all this manual work to keep the rest of our systems afloat, we kind of lose sight in what we want to do to what we have to do. And because of that, people end up, burning out or are feeling kind of disengaged with their with their work that they're doing, and really want to focus back on what they want to do. So when we look at all of the different tasks we may look at on a day-to-day basis, I like to break it down from what I call task frequency and the difficulty of the task that we're working on. So things like data entry, emailing, data set comparisons, reporting, this is what I call these high frequency tasks that aren't that difficult to do. And those tasks fall in what I call the automation sweet spot. Right? Things that are prone really well to be automated because there's such a structured process around it. Things like 3-year planning, strategy, expectations management, those tend to need that human touch to be successful. Although, the industry keeps pushing the bounds of what AI can do. So one day I may change the slide to showcase that, hey, this is also prone to automation now. But for now, those things are really there for human interaction. But of course, we can't focus on the stuff on the left-hand side because we're too focused on the stuff on the right-hand side. So before I even start, RPA as a tool. And one of the quotes that I found that really resonates with me is from a professor at the London School of Economics. One major benefit of RPA is that the ROI for a single project varies between 30 and 200% just in the first year. And that is an amazing return that most technologies can't even see in the first 2 or 3 years. So with that being said, what do I mean when I talk RPA, right? I don't know if you've been to these meetings before, different webinars, everyone has a different definition for what I would call the buzzword terms in the analytics area, right? So to me, RPA are the solutions themselves, that it's the software which integrates into any environment and simulates employee actions. And that's the key. We're not really automating, we're really creating a digital worker to work alongside you to really embrace automation so that it can make your lives easier, right? It's a way to change the ways of work for everyone so that, again, you can focus on those strategic things that you want to focus on. So some of the capabilities, and these are pretty core to RPA as a whole, data entry. This is probably the biggest one that we see with most of our clients we work with RPA. Everyone has, as some portion of their job, they need to enter information into some system. So that takes a lot of time. And with RPA, we have the ability to automate that away so that we don't have to, no longer have to do that. Following rule-based procedures, right? Following things that we set up based on a process flow, that's really a core competency of RPA technology. Data extraction, right? Pulling information from either the web, an internal application, PDFs, pictures, all of that is a part of the RPA technology today because they have added, optical character recognition software to help extract data from, a variety of different sources. Validating data is also a big one. A lot of the times, we want to make sure that the data we're showcasing off to our executives or to different members of the organization is correct. And a lot of us spend a lot of time making sure that it is. But with RPA solutions and with bots, we can actually automate that process to really hone in on the validation process. One second. Another one I really want to focus on, and it's kind of the highlight for today, is this idea of report generation. All of us it's great to have the data and be able to showcase it, but we also need to be able to present it out. And with RPA solutions, we're really able to showcase how to quickly and efficiently burst out reports and create reports to really shine in that manner. And lastly, emailing. Emailing is another thing that's kind of built into the tool because it interacts with so many different facets of the organization. So I did want to go over a personal example of kind of how I got interested in the technology to start, right? So in college, what I did was I was bored one time at home and I wanted to kind of see what RPA was about. So what I did is I created a sweepstakes bot that entered sweepstakes for me. So what I would do is I would have the bot search Twitter for sweepstakes. With the links that it found, it would create a list in Excel. I would then categorize those lists with another bot, and I would then send that list off into a variety of different of bots that I created to enter them in for me. And with this small solution that I did for fun, I was able to win around $4,000 of prizes a month. And what I like about this example is it kind of showcases how RPA can be used not just in the business environment, but almost really to do anything. However, I do want to bring it back a little bit and talk about an example that we might see on a day-to-day working. So reading an email, scanning, downloading an Excel file, scanning through that Excel file to find any necessary information, inputting that data into an ERP system. If we have an escalation, right, if there was something that we wanted to double check with human eyes, send it to that employee for validation, otherwise complete the process and upload it into the ERP systems that we were working with. However, with that being said, I do want to kind of bring it back a little bit. And if you're going to take one thing away from the presentation as a whole, right, the biggest thing to say is that as long as the process can be mapped, it really can be automated, right? So this goes into, I want you to kind of expand your minds here. If you have a process in your mind that you think that is prone to automation, right? Throw it in the chat, and I'm happy to answer the question more personally after the call today. So really, when I map it out, I just want to give some more use cases. Generally, right, data entry, emailing, these are things we kind of went over earlier. They fit in well within any part of the organization. Within finance, accounts receivable and accounts payable operations are definitely the most popular RPA tools today, or RPA use cases today, but procurement and order management follow right along. Operations, I used to work in operations, so this is probably the one that speaks closest to me. Inventory control, shipment consolidation, forecasting, all really tend really well to automation. In the IT realm, data cleaning, working with file transfer processes and data validation. And in HR, recruiting, training, managing the payroll and managing employee benefits are all really good with RPA and using automation towards those activities. With that being said, what are the benefits that I would see using RPA, right? And there's a ton, but I wanted to list out just a few that speak really close to me. So the one that I like the best is the improved employee morale. And the reason I choose this as my top benefit is because this is the one that, as a manager of a team that hits closest home to me. So in my past job, my employees were working on a task that took them all day long, right? They were forecasting for 30,000 weak skew combinations, and that manual process just took so long that they weren't able to work on anything else. However, once we, injected bots and RPA technology into the mix, we were able to reduce that completely from 30,000 manual entry points to 0. And by doing that, my team was allowed to re-engage with the work they were doing, but also learn more about the organization they were working with and have a better chance of being promoted into a managerial position with that overall perspective on the organization. Productivity is also a huge one. RPA solutions execute 10 times faster than any human can, and that's could be between 10 and 100 times. It's super reliable, right? It's fun to say that there's no HR department with bots. They are always here. There's never a sick day, and they're working for you 100% of the time. And because you are able to set up kind of the flow that they work in, it's super consistent because they're going to follow those rules 100% of the time. It's super non-invasive, and it's compliant with almost any type of infrastructure or architecture that you have set up. And you'll see a little bit when I give a demo on the Automation Anywhere software that it's super easy to use, and then there's really a low technical barrier. And lastly, it's just super accurate, right? It's not going to make a mistake because it's going to follow your process 100% of the time. So with that, a brief industry overview, just to give you a sense of, hey, who uses RPA today, or who's using it, or have implemented some use cases in their industry already. So the top one, again, for anyone who works in manufacturing, should be no surprise, right? There is so much data coming in and out of the lines to make sure everything is flowing correctly that a lot of manufacturing companies use RPA to help facilitate the data transfer between the operations and the strategic side of the business. But again, you'll see that almost every industry has at least 50% of people already implementing some form of RPA at some facet of the organization. Media and publishing, energy, banking and finance, technology, all above 80%. And again, when you look at the use cases or the area of focus, you tend to see some of the things we've already talked about. Data analysis is probably the top one. A lot of people using RPA to extract data, move data around, and making sure that it ties out. So why are we talking about this today, right? This is a TM or a PA focused conversation, and I'm talking about RPA. Well, using both RPA and PACS in Excel, we can actually create custom Excel reports with full bursting capabilities. And this is really cool because it allows you to easily manage your TM1 infrastructure or your PA infrastructure to be able to showcase your data to more of your organization in a really fast and agile manner. So with that being said, I'm going to pivot from the presentation and start with demos. But before I do so, I do want to check the chat quickly and see if anyone has any questions on any of the things I went over so far. So I'll give you a minute just in case you have any questions. All right, looks good. So I'll continue. All right. So this should look somewhat familiar to people who work with TM1 or planning analytics all the time. What we've created here is a report that kind of shows, different, our plan and our current forecast for different account levels, right? And right now I'm actually connected directly into TM1 via, the PAX system. So if I just refresh data like this, it's like I am not logged in. Let me fix that. Here we go. So you can see already that we are kind of live connected to our, our cubes and pulling in the data that we want to pull in to kind of showcase, the variance report that we have created. And for those used to working with PACS, you can see that we can, hey, change the customers, or change the industry and get a new set of data, really interacting directly with our cube. So I can go to the Eastern region, Florida, and we can see new data is coming over every time. But your data, and in a fashion a lot of us are used to writing Excel. A second, let's go back to the start. But one of the things a lot of our customers ask for is like, hey, what's the most efficient way to showcase this information, right, throughout an organization? And what I have here, when I click this burst report button, is a quick macro that I created that helps integrate within the PACS environment to burst this information out, right? Some magic starts to appear on my screen. It starts recalculating. It's faster than any human can showcase this, but it's pulling different levels of the organization off and saving off those different workbooks to really showcase, hey, how can we burst out this information? So give it a couple of seconds. It doesn't take very long. And what you may not be seeing, but in the background, it's actually sending an email off for every different cross section of the report. So I'll let it finish, but then I'm going to open my email up and just quickly, hey, what is it doing? So it tells me it's all done. See now, so given a bunch of emails from myself on the different reports that I made. This is totally customizable in every single way, right? So you can change with some of the clients that we work with. You can change, who's receiving the reports. We've also went so far as to uploading the reports to SharePoint so that you have an easier way to distribute the information. This is still connected to TM1, which is also really cool. So you can either create a snapshot of the data or keep it connected so people can refresh the data live from the TM1 or the planning analytics system. Again, this is totally customizable. So we are able to really pinpoint the distribution of these reports in the way you want to distribute it. I don't know, Mitch, if you want to add anything to this part of the demo.
Yeah, absolutely. And, working closely with Jake. So give an introduction. So my name is Mitch Dorhout. I'm a senior consultant here at eCapital Advisors. So I work on our IBM Planning Analytics practice. And obviously, one of the pains that we've always had with Planning Analytics is the ability to burst out reporting, right? So we either have to maybe buy a third-party solution or have to build a customized solution for that. Well, now that Jake and I have worked together on multiple projects now of being able to, be able to burst out reports and be able to email it out to people. We had an example at a client where they had 220 plus cost centers and they didn't have enough licensing for that. So basically Jake and I worked together to be able to send that report out for each cost center to be able to provide feedback, and that we were able to load back into Planning Analytics. So that ability to save time for a lot of admins and be able to provide that feedback so that we're providing value for the entire company is something beneficial of RPA integration with TM1.
And again, what's really cool about it is that we're able to really customize it to your company, right? This isn't an out-of-the-box solution where we say, hey, if you don't follow our procedures, it's not going to work, right? We're able to really fine-tune it and create the reports the way you want to see it. So I do have one more demo today, but before I go, does anyone have any questions about this? I do see one. That's great. Are you able to pull email addresses from attributes in TM1? Absolutely. And we actually do that, right? So that's one of the ways we've managed the distribution lists to help kind of navigate the bursting kind of capabilities, is bringing in those email attributes and kind of assigning, I don't want to call it a Rolodex, but a distribution list to say, hey, report for account center A goes to these emails, account B goes to these emails. So that required Excel macro in addition to RPA capabilities. Actually, for this, I'm going to showcase the one that uses the Automation Anywhere software next. But one of the things we wanted to do with making these burstable reports is not have to use additional software to do something like this, right? We wanted to make sure that you were able to do it within just normal Excel so that it's a low cost barrier to really burst out these reports for your company. Is it supported for both?
I think we lost you there, Jake.
Unfortunately, I think what seems like we lost Jake. He said he was having some internet troubles this morning. Brady, Mitch, you guys want me to move on to you until, or we want to wait for Jake to come back?
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, we can definitely move on.
Oh, there he is.
Hey, Mitch, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, my internet, like I said earlier, is having problems this morning. I believe it is supported for both cloud and on-prem, right? Hey, Mitch, can you hear me or no?
Yeah, we can hear you, Jake. Yeah, Automation Anywhere, specifically that tool, does have cloud or on-premise options.
Correct. Any other questions before I showcase kind of an extension of this? All right, cool. So I'm going to open the software itself, right? I'm going to open Automation Anywhere and showcase kind of a more, I guess, what I'll call pretty version of bursting capabilities, right? So logging into the software, I do have this executive report Excel demo already created. But before I do so, I do want to go over a little bit about the technology itself. So what we see on the left-hand side, this is I'll start from kind of where you log into. So Automation Anywhere is one of the two biggest RPA kind of leading softwares according to Gartner today. It's web native, so everything, if it's on-prem or on a cloud instance, you do log in via kind of a web browser to interact with, which is really easy to work with across networks or across different areas of VPNs. So what you'll see is in this My Bots area are all of the different kind of automation pathways that I've created. And the one I'm going to showcase today is this executive reporting. So what I love about this tool is that you don't need coding knowledge to understand or to really embrace it, right? So let's say I wanted to do something in Excel, like didn't want to use VPA, but wanted to use kind of a easier to use kind of human interface to coding. Well, what you can see is on the left-hand side, as I type in Excel, you have all these different methods that you can do and really work with quite easily. So let's say I wanted to, get a column or, get a, I don't know, read a row of data, right? All you would have to do is tell it, hey, what are the cells that you're interested in reading? And without having to understand the underpinnings of Excel, you're able to interact with Excel in a really interesting way. Of course, that's just the start, right? If I start scrolling down, you'll see a lot of different things that it already integrates in with, right? So CSV files, right? If you're managing data via CSVs or text files already built into the tool, working with different distribution lists, getting information from SQL servers or from your different areas of data warehousing, right? Emailing is a big one, right? Like I said earlier, being able to burst out things or send automated emails to people, working with Excel, working with file systems, right? Even to start with some of the more interesting stuff like using Watson to do speech to text, right? As I said, as we progress more in the industry, we're going to see more AI capabilities be built into the Automation Anywhere tool itself. But again, it's almost limitless in what it can do because at the end of the day, it also allows you to code with Python to really embrace kind of the more open source and kind of ideology within an Automation Anywhere, an RPA tool. So again, really cool way of kind of seeing different processes, right? Working with SAP and having this drag and drop nature of it to really kind of embrace automation, but without having to have that coding knowledge to do so. And what's also really cool is if you wanted to try out the software and just get a taste of it, there's a free version that you're allowed to try on the Automation Anywhere website to really start off and say, hey, is this something that could work for me? Is this something I would be interested in? With that said, I do want to showcase another example that I have created today. So one thing as I do as a consultant is manage my time, right? I have a lot of projects I work on, and one of the things I like to do is send off executive reports to different people to say, hey, how are we progressing according to budget? Are there any risks? What does the project look like? So what I have here is an Excel book that I created that helps manage this process. However, it's not super pretty. I would love for this to be presented out in a more executive-friendly approach. So I have it so that I can change the information here, and it will dynamically set, things across the workbook to really make sure that everything is tying out. But at the end of the day, what I want to be able to do is present this in a manner that makes sense to an executive. So with the bot that I have created, if I hit the play button up here, and it's going to be really quick. And right now it's running. And you're not actually going to see anything on the screen, and it's done. So in that 2 seconds, right, super, super quick, what it actually did is it took my Excel report, and in 1 second, you'll see an email coming through. Here it is, and made it into a PowerPoint. So now, this is what it looks like. Again, super executive friendly, a super visual approach to kind of a project status, right? Budget right here, and any risks being centered in the slide. But again, we can do this with the bursting report for the Team One data itself too. We're able to take the information out of Excel and make it into a kind of a narrative approach in PowerPoint to really showcase to different parts of your organization, kind of the status of different things, like a variance between your forecasts and your actual numbers in team. So with that being said, that's the two brief demos I have for today. Hopefully that helps kind of showcase some of the power of Automation Anywhere and some of the power that RPA can provide. I did want to leave 10 minutes for questions, just kind of go over anything that kind of sparks your mind on, hey, what are the different capabilities we can do with bursting, and really kind of this report creation process. I don't know if Matt, you have anything to add while we wait for questions to come in.
Yeah, I don't specifically. It's always fun to see the use cases you come up with, Jake. They're always interesting. I'd be curious to hear if there's anyone online that is using any automation at their companies today as well. If anyone has any other use cases or things that they're doing today.
Yeah, what's really cool about RPA is once you buy the software, right, you automatically get the ability to burst reports out of TM1, but you get the ability to do so much more as well, right? You can start. We've done a lot of interesting work with accounts payable, accounts receivable, marrying up data from different systems, working with the Treasury Department, right? All these really interesting parts of financial planning and analysis. All right, seems like we have no questions, which is perfectly fine anyway. So if you do have a question, I will, here's one. Is UiPath integrating the same way, and does IBM automation? Sanjeev, yes, you can use either Automation Anywhere or UiPath. I've actually had experience in both, and they both allow you to do this type of process. So it doesn't matter what tool in the RPA suite that you use. I just prefer Automation Anywhere over UiPath because of the user interface. I think it's a little bit more user friendly, whereas if you've ever used UiPath, it's a lot of boxes within boxes.
Hey, this is Maureen. I was just going to jump in. Dave Warner told me that, and I didn't realize this, I guess only the panelists, speaker and panelists can see the Q&A. The Q&A only, and maybe something got posted. Oh, I do see a question. I do see a question. Okay. Okay, so maybe we can see it.
I'm good now. So to accomplish this use case with UiPath, do you use an attended or unattended bot? You can use either, right? So if you wanted a person to kind of prompt, which parts or which accounts or which GL links that you want to burst out, it could be attended. If you want to do everything at once, it could be unattended. Both will work. It just allows you that flexibility to kind of really dictate how you want to burst out your information. Awesome. Well, I would like to thank everyone for listening in to the RPA brief overview and kind of some of the integration we've been doing with the planning analytics system. With that, I'm going to pass it over to Mitch and Brady to start going over some tips and tricks, but I'll be in the audience or watching for the next 10 minutes, just in case anyone has any extra questions. I'll be answering them in the Q&A.
All right. Thanks, Jake.
Awesome.
So,
Thanks, Jake.
All right. So I'm ready, Mark. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
All right. So again, Brady Marr. I run the TM1 Planning Analytics practice at eCapital. I'm actually based in Amarillo, Texas, so I am a fellow Texan, even though I'm not necessarily in North Texas. Mitch Dorhout is presenting with me. He is actually based in Dallas. Mitch, you want to say a few words about yourself?
Absolutely. Mitch Dorhout, as I said before, senior consultant here at eCapital Advisors, been on the IBM Planning Analytics practice for about 5+ years. So very excited to be here today. And like I said, throughout our presentations, do let us know if you have any questions.
All right. And so when Mitch and I were talking about, hey, what do we want to present for this user group? There's a lot of stuff that we wanted to show, but honestly, from a planning analytics standpoint, we kind of decided, well, there's so much to show. Maybe we just do a little bit of everything. Kind of give a little bit of a refresher on what the tool can do. And so I actually kind of came up with this idea of, hey, let's do this greatest hits. The greatest hits of planning analytics. So I put this slide together, and I'm going to give Mitch a little bit of a hard time here because that's what we do. Normally in these demos, he calls me old, and so of course, me showing an old cassette tape here. Mitch had never seen a cassette tape, so he didn't know when I referenced side 1 and side 2. He had no idea that you could actually turn sides over of the tape.
Yeah,
but
yes, never heard of it before.
So once again, it's Mitch's opportunity to give me a hard time about being old, I suppose. But so for side 1 of this cassette tape that we're going to be showing here, we're going to be talking about the FP&A side of planning analytics. So Mitch is going to show a lot of what we kind of consider as the bread and butter of TM1 or planning analytics. So he'll kind of cover the revenue, COGS planning, salary and workforce planning, expense budgeting, financial reporting, and cash flow forecasting. Side 2 is what we're kind of calling the XP&A. So if you haven't heard that term, it's extended planning and analysis. This is the part where when I talk to my clients, this is the part I kind of come up with the question of, hey, can your budgeting software do that? So there definitely, there's a lot of budgeting softwares out there that do just your basic, FP&A type, income statement reporting, income statement forecasting. But when it comes to XP&A, TM1 Planning Analytics, can definitely do things like staffing optimization, has its own built-in dashboarding and analytics capabilities, and then also can do some operational planning. So before we jump all the way into the demo, I always like to give just a little bit of a history of IBM Planning Analytics. I know on this call today, we have a lot of people that are very familiar with Cognos Analytics. Obviously, this is an IBM user group. And throughout this demo, you'll hear me and Mitch both reference TM1 or Planning Analytics. So I always like to give a little bit of history of the product. So 1983 was actually when TM1, aka Table Manager 1, was created by a company called Simper Corporation. 96, that was purchased by Applex. So a lot of people have heard of Applex. September 2007, Cognos purchased Applex, and literally a couple months later, IBM purchased Cognos. So that definitely, I was in the industry in 2007. And I remember, I remember Cognos getting this tool that was going to replace Cognos planning, and then IBM immediately turned around and purchased Cognos. So again, all through those years, the product was referenced as TM1, and then in 2016, IBM released a new version of TM1 called Planning Analytics. It's still TM1 behind the scenes, same engine, same tool behind the scenes, but just with a much better interface. More integration with Excel, more dashboarding capabilities with the new tool called Workspace. So again, as we go through this demo, you'll hear us call it TM1 or Planning Analytics. It's the same product. So Mitch, I'm going to let you, I think, just get going with the demo.
That sounds good to me. Perfect. So I'll get logged in right now. So right now I'm currently going to do the FP&A side. So as Brady highlighted before, so really want to kind of highlight on some of the main things, right? So we'll talk about sales forecasting, that salary and workforce planning, SG&A and driver-based planning, financial reporting, and cash flow forecasting. So I really want to kind of go throughout the demo. If you have any questions in the chat, please do let us know. I can definitely answer as best I can. So right now I'm going to jump on in here. And so it has a similar now look and feel within Planning Analytics Workspace to Cognos Analytics. So you have your books on the left, so you can see what are your most recent, some of your favorites. With the recent upgrade to Planning Analytics Workspace, there's new additions to be able to do, applications and plans. So that's really exciting, where you can kind of bucket these 5 tasks that you want to do, and it really makes it easier for your end users to go in and be able to accomplish their tasks that they're supposed to do. So right now I'm going to jump into our reports and analysis here, and I'm just going to jump into the side 1 here for FP&A. So as we're getting logged in here, so I'm gonna take on the role that I'm going to be an HVAC holdings company. So my company, we have regions of the Northeast, Mid-Atlantic, Southeast, Midwest, and the Southwest. One of definitely the biggest capabilities within Planning Analytics is that scenario planning. Obviously, with the impact of COVID, we have seen a huge uptick in the number of scenarios that companies are doing. We need to be able to say, okay, what is going to be our best case, our base, and our worst case, right? So that we're prepared in any way, right? How do we manage our costs, right? What are some opportunities that we can seize on? So right now I want to go in and I just want to create a new scenario. And I want to say that, hey, we're going to have an increase in demand in the Midwest. The Midwest, because people are not going to probably be going into work, they're going to be at home longer. So it's going to require that their furnaces are going to run a lot more. There's going to be more maintenance, etc. So I'm going to go in and create a new scenario here. And so the version I want to call is just increase in demand is what I'll call it. So we have different options. Say, hey, do we want this to be an active forecast, or do we just want to archive this off? And where do we want to grab the data from, right? So our data that it currently sits in that forecast version. So I'm just going to copy that out. So I'm going to click OK. And so right now it's going throughout the entire system, and it's copying all that data from this forecast version here to that new version that we're creating. And so you notice that it executed successfully. So I'll come in here and I can refresh. And now you'll notice that we have an increase in demand. Here's our new version here. And we have already a variance calculation. So we're showing, hey, that the forecast and the increase in demand, those are tracking what we expect. Now I'm going to go jump into track 1 for sales. So right now, you notice for our sales forecast, we have some different things, right? So we have some key assumptions, we have some different KPIs of what are our total units, the number of hours that our techs are going to be working, and then what is our revenue going to be. So I'm going to go into here, and first thing I actually want to do is go into our Midwest. We go into Midwest here, and so you'll notice everything will dynamically update, right? So we'll show the number of units, we show the assumptions associated with that company. So for the remainder of the year, let's just say we're going to up our rate, right? So we're going to up our rate from 136, we're going to go to 145 for all of our products. We see an impact to our revenue, we see an impact to the total number of units, and et cetera. You can also flip to that next year as well. And I'm going to update it to 145 as well. So we automatically can see that impact to our net revenue. Now what I want to do is I want to go to our gas furnace. So we have all these different types of products, right? So we have our gas furnace, air conditioner, heat pump, ductless, etc. I'm going to go to our gas furnace, and you can notice that this is the number of units that we have. Now, as we go on into December, and we're just going to say that out to February, people are going to be at home a lot longer. So we're going to say we want to see an increase of 10%. So I'm going to go here. I can highlight it out to February. I can go right click and we'll be able to do a spread. So we'll select a percentage change and we'll just do 110%. So we see an impact of, hey, we've raised it 10% already. So that we applied this to the forecast version, unfortunately, in here. So the increase in demand is going to be what our version was when we copied the data over, but now I'm in that forecast version. I can go back to our cash flow summary here, and right away you can see the impact to our revenue. So we're projecting a revenue of $3 million more even for the remaining of 2020 just by increasing our rates as well as updating our number of units for those 3 months. And we can also see an update about almost $4 million to our forecast version here. Now, obviously, those are high level. We can do those different assumptions, but you also can, if you want to factor in different discounts, if you want to run specials, etc. So we could say we could do like a 5% discount here. We could offer on the 21st, just because we're feeling generous for Christmas, we're going to give a 10% discount. So we're able to track what is our number of discounts, what's our net revenue, etc. So you're able to break those things out. So these are things that we want to factor into our plan analytics models to give people the ability to automate a lot of their planning, but also give them the ability to make those decisions as a business. I will stop there, and I can kind of take a pause and see if there's any questions that you guys have about sales forecasting, and our next track we'll go into is salary and workforce planning. So I can pause, see if there's any questions in the chat at all. And I think we'll be good for right now. I can now jump into track 2 of our workforce planning. So within workforce planning, so we've worked with a numerous amount of clients where people want to track by employee, right? So that we call that roster-based planning. So companies will be able to say, okay, for all our different employees, we want to track how much are they working, right? Are they doing a 40-hour week? Are they spending, part-time? So they're spending 75% of their time on my company and 25% on a different part of the business. So we're able to kind of track that as well. We can track the number of FTEs we have, positions, different grades. So we might do like salary midpoint to see how are we performing there. When were they hired? It's always good to understand your retention. How long have you had that person here? Is there, do we want to automate it? Say if you've been here for 5 years, you get a bonus, etc. And then obviously adjusting, base salary, different merits, etc. So right now, as I'm selected on the Midwest Heating Company, we have, went back before COVID, we built out the ability to do furlough start weeks. So we might have said, hey, if we had to furlough someone, we want to track, say, we're going to furlough them from the 6th of April to, June 29. So right now, what I'm going to go do in here is I want to showcase the ability of doing sandboxing. So in the first tab, I did a lot of scenario planning, right? Well, now I want to give users that ability to say, hey, what if I want to add this person? What impact does that have? So right now, I'm going to go in and I can go and create a new sandbox. So this is a personal version for you. So if I go here, I'm just going to say add awesome employees. So right now, what I can do is take that data from the base version here. So I can go in and create that now. So wait for that to finish up. So right in here, you'll notice that I'm selected on the add awesome employees. So I'll just do new hire 1, and I'll just say myself. We can say he'll be full-time. And we can give myself the role of I'm gonna be a Boilermaker. I'll give myself a grade of 9, and starting we'll say on 11/30, and I'm gonna get $1 million. So right now, what you'll notice that as I commit that employee, right, we're able to calculate what is my merit gonna be come that next year. And we can also have different percentages, right? So what if I do a 3% merit instead? What's that impact there? Oh, 3.0. So now I can go into our workforce variance comparison here. And what you'll notice is that I have this add awesome employee sandbox. So we can have this now as in explorations, you can have it as a dimension where we can actually do different filtering. So right now I can select these 2 and create a calculation, right? And say, what is my variance now? So, and I'm just gonna swap these here. take these two and I can go create that calculation, and I can just call it variance. And we can take that base minus the add awesome employees. And automatically we have that variance calculation to show, okay, what's our variance in salaries, merits, and new base salary, etc. So obviously after doing all of these things, right? So after making all these adjustments in the add awesome employees, now I know what the impact is. Now I can actually take that version and I can actually commit that now to the base version. So I can go in here and I click commit data. So do I want to take that add awesome employees sandbox and commit it to the base? Yes. And so now in the base version, well, you'll notice that the number stays for that new employee. All right, any questions at all? So I think we just received one question. Let me go to the Q&A here. So it looks like, can you make the changes at higher levels total company and have it trickle down to areas such as Midwest? Absolutely, David. So David was asking a question of, hey, can I type down at a top level? So back in our sales forecasting, for example, I made adjustments at that gas furnace level and everything trickled down doing a spread there. So it trickled down to Evolution 98, 96, etc. All right. So I got a couple more things. I want to make sure we stay on track to get everything that we need to get accomplished and give Brady enough time to go through his content. So the next thing I want to go into is SG&A, right? So SG&A planning is obviously critical, especially right now. We're trying to manage the amount of costs. So when we talk about SG&A planning, there's two ways that we kind of look at it, right? So it's, how do we manage input our costs, but then also how can we use different drivers, right? So different drivers in that we have revenue. We could also have, based on the number of FTEs, the number of units that you sold, et cetera. I've worked with clients that we've actually built their entire forecasting model based on drivers, right? So if sales goes up, we're expecting that we're going to increase it by it's going to be 3% of sales is this cost. So we can, within a system like Planning Analytics, we're trying to eliminate the amount of manual entry that you have to do, right? So we want to be able to use those different drivers. So within driver-based planning, the one thing I want to is very applicable is that I always think about office supplies. Now, office supplies, as right now during a time of COVID, we're working at home, right? But we would need to pay for our employees. So our company might be performing well, and we want to be able to give back to them, right? So what can we do? So we can cover different things like, okay, let's give them maybe a new desk chair. Let's upgrade their monitor situation, right? Give them a new desk. So you can have, different things associated with that. So for this office supplies, for example, I can go in and take a driver and say it's based on the number of FTEs. So for example, in the organization Massachusetts, we have 10 FTEs for the year. So I can go select our FTE, and then what I can say for the driver is say, per employee, let's just say we'll spend $3,000. So I can click refresh here. And right away, what you'll notice is that we're able to calculate the number of FTEs that associated per month, right? So we're able to bring in, okay, how much is our cost going to be per FTE? So right now it's showing 10, but really I think it's like 9.75 because I just don't have it rounded. But we're able to see, okay, as we add in more FTEs, our office supplies will go up because we have that assumption that we're going to be helping pay for our employees. All right, I know that we're talking through these very quickly, but is there any questions? I mean, the nice thing within Planning Analytics is that you have the ability to do write back capabilities. So we usually will do commentary so that a end user can, put in their comments so that if someone comes in, they're able to say, hey, why did you do this expense, right? We can do different types of annotations, as you notice with this right mark here is that we've added in annotations for that time this person put this in.
Yeah, Mitch, I'll add to that. I mean, one of the goals of kind of the way we design a lot of our planning analytics models is we want to minimize the number of clicks, the number of data entry points, really minimize the amount of time that our end users have to take to fill in their forecast, to fill in their budget. And so that's why a lot of times we do these driver-based plans. But planning analytics also comes with a lot of shortcut keys and functionality. Mitch, one of the things you might just quickly show is just the breakback capabilities of one of those white rows, and let's talk about how that breakback works.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm seem to be spinning a little bit. I'm just going to close out and reopen quick. But yeah, I'll definitely show that breakback capabilities of being able to drive it all the way down to that lowest level. So for example, we can be, I'm going to go to our SG&A here. And so you'll notice is that for legal, we have, 24,000 for the year. So if, for example, say that we need to up it to be 60,000, so we can type in 60K. So by typing in 60K, it will reproportionalize all your numbers so that it will basically take the percentage that it was and apply that same thing, right? So you're really mimicking, you're lowering the amount of keys. So you're really trying to get to a number. You want to have that breakback capability to go all the way down to that bottom level for you. All right. All right, and I can move on now to our financial reporting. So we're thinking, obviously, in the FP&A realm, but going on to the financial reporting, we really look at it in a couple ways. So we're thinking in the performance management, right? So we're doing consolidations, month-end reporting. So when I think month-end reporting, I'm thinking doing our trend analysis, do our variance analysis, balance sheet, cash flow, income statement. So you have kind of a multitude of options within Planning Analytics that we can, we're able to utilize the tool for, and then, taking the Excel add-in of packs. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this report, for example. So we have just this basic income statement report. And when I log in, it's kind of blah, right? I need to see a little bit more. So I'm going to go into our book here and make sure that I'm connected to our Smart Code model. So right now, you'll notice is that on the left-hand pane, we have the cubes that are associated with it. So I'm going to close this task pane here. And I'm going to go open up that report. I'll get logged in. All right, so right now what I'm going to go is I'm going to take this income statement report here. So wait for that report to open up. So you notice that it has that same format of what we have in that report currently. So what I'm going to do here is I want to add a couple things. So this really is for your end users to be able to go and make updates to those reports that they need to. So I'm going to go in and add a logo. So I'm just going to go in and add the eCapital logo here. I'm just going to paste this in. So I'll paste that here. The next thing I'm going to do is obviously, it's all very dark, right? So I want to add some different formatting. So we're currently in a custom report, so we can make these updates right here. So I'll highlight gross margin, total operating expenses, and then net profit. And what I'm going to do is I'll just do a thick top and bottom border. And for net profit, for example, I'll just do top and bottom. And then for these ones, I can go in and say, okay, let's just take these and unbold them. I don't think that these need to be bolded. And lastly, I'll just kind of gray these out. So we can make these updates right away, and these can be reflected here in Planning Analytics. And lastly, let's just do an Excel graph. So what I'm going to do is I'll type in account here. And what I'll do is I'll highlight, our revenue. Let's do our gross margin, our total operating expenses, and net profit after our allocations. I can go in and click insert, and I'm just going to click a recommended chart, and we'll just take this clustered bar here. And I'll just call this summary. Oh, accidentally hit backspace and I deleted it. So just go back in here quick. And I'll call this just summary, for example. All right, so now that after making these updates here, what I can go do is I can click publish. So now what I can is go override this income statement report, right? So I'm gonna go click it here, publish it, and make sure, do I wanna override it? I'll come back into Workspace. And what I'll do is I'll close out of here and just reopen it again. So right away, what you're going to notice is that after making any sort of update to your reports, we're going to see those updates to it. So this is a lot for your end users. One thing we really enjoy about it is that with the bursting capabilities out of PAW, we can use that as well if you want to. You have now capabilities if you want to email things, exporting it to a PDF, saving to a file location, etc. So, for example, if I switch this to be, Maryland, everything will dynamically update on our graph, etc. All right, I'll stop for any questions on financial reporting at all. All right, so I got a question about, good morning, I have a question about security. I do not see the approval tree as in TM1 contributor. How do you manage access in this new version? So, good question, Deborah. So security-wise, usually we, within contributor, obviously that has its own approval tree, but within TM1 as well, you can build out actually element security. So if someone has access, for example, if I go back to our sales, if someone has access to the Midwest Heating and Cooling Company, they will have access to those versions. Now we can get specific and say, okay, for the forecast, it's write capabilities, but for the increase in demand, we can limit that security as well if you wanted to. But usually, we try and kind of keep security the same way. But if you need to lock down in certain situations, you have that ability too. So, Brady, any commentary on that for security-wise?
Yep. So the main thing, you're referencing contributor and that product still technically is available, but we are, IBM is, and we are trying to push, most of our users of TM1 to the new guided planning. So guided planning was actually just released in the most current release of Planning Analytics. And essentially what it does is it takes, instead of using a single hierarchy for your budgeting and planning process, it now allows you to be a much more thorough. It doesn't have to be just a single hierarchy. It can be multiple steps in the process. So it really makes it to where your budgeting planning process can be really multi-dimensional and multi-step. But I would say that guided planning process is something that would probably be a good topic for a future user group, Ava.
I like that idea as well. All right, any other questions? I can check the Q&A again. Right, so I think that is it for the meantime. So the last one I'm going to touch base on is that cash flow forecasting. So everything that we've been doing up to this point, right? So we have been, updating our sales numbers, right, at a weekly level. We've been updating our workforce planning. We've been doing a lot of our SG&A. So obviously that is focused on that income statement side. But from a financial reporting side, we also can be, doing balance sheet forecasting, et cetera. So after doing all these things, right, so now we want to go get into our cash flow, see that impact, right? So from a cash flow standpoint, we bring in our revenue. So for our inflows, we have some other different inflows as well. But, for this example, I'm going to focus on our outflows. So the way we want to kind of customize this cash flow forecasting is really in a way that allows users to be able to make adjustments that sometimes might be a little bit difficult to program in the system. So for the example, for this outflow here, I'm going to go say for the Midwest, because of the increase that we're going to have in our revenue, we're going to say, hey, we know it's going to be a tough holiday. We're going to be working a lot. We want to give you guys some gifts. So I can go type in employee gifts here. So right away, this can be an adjustment, and we'll say that for December for December, we're going to be paying out $2 million as a company in bonuses.
I would like to work for your
So-
company, Mitch. You're being very generous.
I know. I think I would. I think it's a good company. We really value our employees. So, quick refresh sheet here, and right away, we can go back now and go into our cash flow summary. You'll notice is that we have a variance in our projected outflows and our inflows as well. So, right away, we're able to see that impact, right? So, some of the decisions that we're making as a company, how is that going to impact us in a way of what we're going to have for our cash on hand, projected change? Are we looking good going into 2021? So that really kind of concludes side one. And like I said, I wanted to do album one. I wanted to be more modern, but Brady wanted it to be a little bit more old school. So I can turn it on over to side two, and I can let Brady take it away while he's getting up and running. Feel free to put any questions in the Q&A, and I can help answer those.
All right. Let me know if you can see my screen there, Mitch.
I can see your screen.
All right. So again, so Mitch kind of covered kind of our typical FP&A stuff. I'm going to spend just a few minutes on XP&A. And the examples I'm going to show here are things we've actually done at some of our clients. I'm going to show them pretty briefly, but definitely open. If there are questions, if you're interested in more of a in-depth analysis, definitely we're always happy to schedule kind of one-off meetings and kind of show you some more of this in depth. So the first one I'm going to start with is really staffing optimization. So same thing, I'm going to be in Planning Analytics Workspace. So again, this is our web-based front end for the TM1 product. I'm going directly into a book here called the Texas User Group. And I'm going into a book here called Staffing Optimization. So this is actually a TM1 web sheet that we created. We basically built it in Excel, but we're deploying it out via this web-based interface. And so what you see here at the top is we've got a location. Again, you could pick a different location. Right now we're looking at Dallas. We got a projection month. So we're looking at, hey, we want to start forecasting for, in this case, October 2020. And this is a healthcare company. So basically what we're doing is we're trying to find the right level of staffing for these various areas. So skilled nursing, physical therapy, occupational therapy. This actually works very well over almost any type of business. We've looked at this for a construction business, so where they're forecasting, different type of skilled laborers from, contractors, carpenters to, concrete workers. It works good in higher education. It really it works, very well where you're trying to figure out what's the right level of staffing over different types of employees. And so really just from a very, very high level, we're trying to say, hey, do we need to hire, or do we have too many of these different types of positions? And so kind of as we scroll down through here, we have our demand projection. So at least in the healthcare industry, this is, how many visits, how many patients are we going to have to work with? So right now, this was built with a run rate. So it looks back at the past 3 months and says, hey, based on those past 3 months, we think our run rate, in other words, like number of patients, number of visits that we're going to need from a Medicare standpoint is around 177. If you wanted to adjust that and say, no, we really think it's going to be a bigger demand, you come here and say, no, it's going to be 190. And again, based on some of that, it starts changing things. So again, up here at the top, you can see, at least right now, do we need to hire? Right now, it looks like from a physical therapist standpoint, that we're probably about 2 FTEs short, is what this is telling me. So that's why it's kind of highlighted in red there. As I keep scrolling down, again, I'm going to just kind of briefly walk through this, just knowing that we're kind of limited on time. Contract labor, especially, again, no matter really what industry you're in, contract labor is typically more expensive than hiring people in-house. And so from this standpoint, it looks like from a skilled nursing standpoint, where contract labor is made up about 2.5% of our normal visits. So maybe if we have a new initiative and we're to say, hey, we're going to start trying to scale back the number of contract laborers we're going to use. We're going to try to handle a lot more of that in-house. So maybe we're going to put a modification here of 60. And so based on that, that says, all right, instead of 2.5% of all of your visits, now we're only going to forecast 1.9 of your visits are going to need to be handled by contract laborers. Again, based on that, you'll see over here on the right that actually by doing that, we actually have some cost savings now. So, you know, right now we're projected to save about almost $3,000 just by decreasing our number of contract laborers that we're using. Same thing with turnover. So, you know, if you were projected to have, in this case, 3.3% turnover, you could, again, adjust that and say, hey, what's your average quarterly FTE turnover? And again, based on what you enter here, so let's just change this to 1. That shows that now we're only forecasting about 2% turnover rate. And again, based on that, again, we're getting some implied cost savings here. As we keep scrolling down, we get down into kind of the productivity section. And again, this is based on, it shows you how many employees you have, what their weekly productivity is, and you can actually adjust this. Now, behind the scenes, we can, you know, when you want to calculate weekly productivity, this is definitely going to be dependent upon your organization. You know, again, depending on what type of organization is, you know, how many units can they process, how many buildings or how many walls can they build, how many, you know, whether you're in a construction project or not. In this case, this is likely how many patients per week can you visit. And so again, let's say we're going to expect maybe a decrease in productivity here. So we're just going to change that to 28. Again, based on some of that, it's going to have probably some implied cost savings that go with it. Potentially, it may mean that we need to hire, or maybe we have too many employees now. Finally, as we can, again, the next section down here is really more based on recruitment. So it shows you your current FTEs, that's your current staff. What's your current skill mix? So in this case, RNs versus LPNs. Let's say you're gonna, or PTs versus PTAs, physical therapist assistants. So let's say we're gonna change this. We're gonna try to move to more physical therapy assistants. So we're gonna change this to 55. What you'll see here is the way we have this kind of programmed in behind the scenes in TM1 is we basically default this. So if I enter 55 here, it's going to force it to be 100%. So basically puts PTA as 45. Again, and all these graphs, again, fully developed within Excel tools. And then again, just deployed out via the TM1 web, in this case, the Paul web-based system. And finally, the last little section of this is, hey, do I need to hire any new employees? That's really the goal here, is to figure out, do I have the right level of staffing? And so it does show here from a physical therapist standpoint, it says, but the system, based on everything I've entered here, it does look like we need to hire a new physical therapist. So in this case, we're going to come in and we're going to say, yeah, let's hire one physical therapist. So based on that, you actually see up here at the top that our numbers actually changed. And maybe we also need to hire one part-time physical therapist. All right, yep, so again, that's kind of our staffing optimization tool. Again, everything is fully customizable to your business, very flexible. Again, the modeling behind the scenes is the biggest power of TM1. All right, so that's staffing optimization. The next one we're going to go to is just show you a little bit of just kind of the dashboarding capabilities within planning analytics. Let's jump back here to my reports and analysis. Movie analytics. So actually, a year or so ago, I went out to and downloaded a big movie database, data set that had basically every movie ever made. And I decided, hey, that would be a very cool dashboard front end for planning analytics. So that's kind of what we're showing you here. Now, the reason I like this example is planning analytics, the newest feature of planning analytics is our ability to report on our attributes. And so what you see here is this is our top 15 movies of all time. It shows our revenue based on revenue, and then it shows our budget. And then here on the right, this is kind of our kind of built-in scorecarding capabilities to kind of show, and this is based on profit margin. Obviously, these profit margins for movies are just astronomical. This is based on just their budget for the actors and actresses that they hire. This doesn't, I don't think it includes marketing dollars and some of those other costs, but obviously based on these profit margin numbers are kind of off the chart. Over on the right, we've got a nice little packed bubble chart, and then down on the bottom, we've got a word cloud that's based on popularity instead of based on revenue. Now, what we really like about this, again, is every movie has attributes. And again, this, just like every one of our businesses, our products, our customers, they all have attributes, so, if you're thinking about your customers, what state or zip code are they in? If you think of your products, what product type are they? What field are they in? What's their product function? All those attributes can instantly become reporting capabilities for us within the planning analytics world. So in this case, one of the attributes of our movies is the release year. And so the way we've got this built, we can actually just start typing, and let's pick 1970s. So it takes just a minute to kind of refresh, but now we're looking at all the movies from the 1970s, and now we can see Star Wars is at the top. All of our other, charts and graphs actually updated as well. So down here at the bottom, we're looking at popularity. You can actually see based on popularity as well. And we can actually do this also on actor. And this is probably one of my most favorite features because this kind of shows the intelligence of the IBM system. So if I just want to start typing in Hanks, so let's actually do Harrison Ford. Let's type in H-A-R, and you can see it's actually smart, and it's not actually based on, so his last name pops up, first name pops up, in the middle H-A-R. So it's actually finding, without doing a lot of typing, it actually is trying to filter and show you, obviously, what you want. In this case, Harrison Ford is coming up to the top of the list, so I can actually filter on Harrison Ford. Again, based on that, now it's showing me all the movies from the 70s with Harrison Ford. And again, based on revenue down here, and then based on popularity down at the bottom. We can obviously come back up here and switch this to 1980, 80s instead of 70s. Again, very dynamic. Again, as long as we keep our filter on Harrison Ford, we're now looking at for the release year of the 80s. 80s is actually a subtotal of all the years of the 80s. And further, some of the attributes we have in here are the release month, and we also have genres. I really like the concept of the genres because these movies can actually fall into multiple genres. They can actually be a romance and an action movie. They can be an action movie and a comedy. And so similar to a lot of our product attributes or even a lot of our customer attributes, a lot of times they can fall into multiple categories. And so again, I really do like this kind of example because I think from a fun standpoint, it's fun to look at movie data, but again, it's a very representative data of a lot of our actual businesses. All right, Mitch, anything else I needed that I show on this? I think that's pretty much it.
No, that's good.
All right. And finally, I think I have about 7 more minutes. I'm going to show operational planning. So go back here. Again, I've already got a book set up for, in this case, I call it demand analysis. But I actually did this on a webinar a few weeks ago if you guys attended. So this is going to be, if you did attend that, this might be a little bit of showing you something you've already seen. But essentially what this is, I built a movie, instead of movie database, this is using a lot of NFL football data. And I think I've done this something similar at a user group in the past, but in this case, what we're wanting to forecast is NFL jersey sales. So basically the way I built this is I said, hey, team popularity obviously is going to drive jersey sales. Social media can drive jersey sales. Stadium capacity can drive jersey sales. And so we're kind of starting off looking here on the right, and this is obviously, I think this was pre-Dak Prescott injury. So for those of us who are Dallas Cowboy fans, I don't know if people are going to be buying Dak Prescott jerseys as much this year since he's actually not playing anymore since he got injured. But so right now we're seeing the top forecasted jerseys for NFL quarterbacks. And then scrolling down the bottom, this is actually social media likes by team. So the example that we like to give here is, we pulled in the total number of Facebook likes, the Instagram followers, the Twitter followers for each of the teams. And so let's, Drew Brees here is obviously the New Orleans Saints, who also got hurt. If we look down here, New Orleans Saints, actually, I have them forecasted right now at 12 million followers. So let's actually increase that, and let's just change that to, let's change their Facebook. Let's say you're going to do a big push. And they're going to try to get to 9 million followers. What you'd actually see that in real time, we built in some logic behind the scenes that says based on some of this, we can forecast that Drew Brees jersey sales are actually going to increase if we have more Facebook followers. Social media, if I continue on here, social media definitely, for an individual level, can definitely play a part. And so just kind of looking down here at the bottom, this is just kind of up and down. It shows a graph of the demand for all of our different players. So let's just come in here and let's change one of these people. And Drew Brees, let's say that instead of a 90 score, this is just a kind of a generic social media score. Let's say that he decides, hey, I'm getting off Twitter. I'm tired of it. I'm getting off Facebook. So now all of a sudden, instead of having all those individual followers, we're going to give him a score of a 60. You actually see that number, if you're watching pretty closely, his number there actually did drop. So his total number of forecasted sales dropped based on his social media score. And let's actually change Dak Prescott. Dak's at a 95. Let's actually change him down to an 80 as well. Again, I can't remember where his number's at, but over here somewhere. All right, so the big issue right now is stadium capacity. So right now our stadium capacities, again, a few months ago, nobody really knew, are they going to have fans in the stands? Now I think we all know, hey, that there's a good, most of our stadiums are not, they're playing them either empty or they're playing them maybe 10%. So in this case, we change everything down to 10%. So it really does drive our demand down. And again, so you can see looking down here on the right, AT&T Stadium, where the Dallas Cowboys play, normally has an 80,000 person capacity. At 10%, hey, we're only having 8,000 people in our stands. Again, if people aren't going to the games, they're probably not buying jerseys, or not as often. All right, so we finally get out here to our operational forecast. And I'm going to make this just a little bit bigger, just make sure everybody can kind of see this on the screen. So right now, you'll see that my days of supply, everything that we want to do from a jersey standpoint is based on days of supply. We don't want to have too much product out in our stores, but we also don't want to be missing sales. So what we have a days of supply target here, and you can see like during the season, right now we've got a 45 days of supply, 55 days of supply. Those are our targets. But based on everything I've done here, we have way too much product. So our days of supply, it's currently at 180 days of supply. Now I could come in here, I could start changing this and say, hey, what does this look like if I'm at 22,000? Again, maybe it's going to change some of these, but ultimately it's going to be really hard. So let's try to drop this down even more. So now I'm down to 106 days of supply. Still, it's going to be a very manual process to do this for every player, every team, every jersey by month. Well, we actually built in some programs, built in a process within the TM1 system to actually do all this for us. So all we have to do here is we press this reforecast shipments. And what it does is based on the current month. So in October, it takes it and says, all right, we want to hit these days of supply targets. We don't want to have too much. We don't want to have too little. So it actually tells us, here's how much you need to ship each month in order to make sure you have the right amount of jerseys on hand to keep our days of supply target. Now, just to kind of show you, again, I was hopeful at the beginning of the year for a Cowboys winning season. So let's come through here and let's change their forecasted wins by month. And again, I think we can all admit now that the Cowboys are not having as stellar of a season as we had hoped. So now all of a sudden, based on those team wins, that is a big driver for jersey sales. Same thing, it adjusted my numbers. Now, again, based on the new forecasted wins, we have too much product. All right, how much do I need to change my shipments to? Now it says, based on our current inventory levels, if we start off at 60,000 jerseys on hand, based on all that, I don't need to ship anything. Again, maybe if I start off with a lower number, if we didn't have quite as much on hand to start the year off. Again, maybe some of this changes. I can reforecast my shipments. There we go. Now I do need to start shipping some product out there. But again, there's so many different drivers, and it's just like a lot of our businesses, not necessarily NFL jersey sales, but there's a lot of factors that can weigh in. This is a very dynamic operational forecast. It can include things, after we get that forecast, it can include things like mix. So like, what mix does it look like? The example I always like to give here is, if you guys are like me, COVID, I probably haven't been eating quite as healthy. So maybe we're going to increase the number of larges. So we're going to say, let's just take that up to 21% of our jerseys are going to be larges, and take our mediums down to 3% just to make it all of our numbers hit. But ultimately, that based on that mix percentage, then that'll drive what does your jersey sales look like? Again, you need to forecast and make sure you get the right mix out into your stores. All right, I think that's really what I was going to show from operational standpoint. I will open it up to questions now. I'm not seeing any questions. But I don't know for sure if I know how to view them all.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any other questions at all either, Brady.
All right, so just kind of summarize again. We kind of picked this to kind of show a lot of the different things planning analytics can do. Again, I know a lot of people in this user group are very much Cognos analytics users. I know we do have some TM1 and planning analytics users out there, but I always find that it's helpful to kind of see a lot of the different things that the software can do instead of just focusing on one aspect. But definitely, my guess is in a future user group, we'll definitely dive into even more, some of the new features and functionalities of the new release of planning analytics.
Absolutely, yeah. Definitely want to dive into that dashboarding capability and guided planning that Brady was highlighting. So we're really excited to kind of showcase that off. But Brady and I will be hanging on. If you have any questions, let us know. Otherwise, we can turn it on over. I know I think we have a break coming up, correct?
Yep, I think that's right.
We have a break. Let's meet back at 10:45, please.
Hey, Neva, just wanted to let you know I successfully passed the presenter rollover onto you.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I was trying to make that happen, and I wasn't seeing it.
Yeah, no worries. Should be enabled now. Let me know if you got any questions. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. So can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Looks
Yes,
good,
we
Ava.
can.
Okay. I think I need to take a roll call to make sure every single participant can see my screen. Just kidding. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this what if analysis within Cognos Analytics 1117. Most of you know me, but if you don't, I'm Ava Terry, and I am also based in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And I focus on the public sector and healthcare vertical. And so I've been mainly focused on Cognos Analytics, but I also do some other things as well. A lot of you may not even know that this what if analysis is actually in the product. So let's talk a little bit about what this is and where you can get it, how you can invoke it. So I wish that I could see all your faces and you could hold up your hands as to how many people are using the community. If not, that's really a great area for you to go out and see what's going on, see some of the new features. There's lots of blogs and things like that. So really some great content out there. But there is an accelerator catalog that is a part of the community. And if you go out and I guess you could Google it, and it actually comes up with this. And so you'll be asked to download. And so what this gives you, it gives you a little zip file that has everything in it that you need for that what if extension. And then from there, once you download it, then you will pop into your Cognos Analytics environment. And under the Manage area, you would go under the Customization. And under the Extensions area, you'll notice that I already have the what if in my environment. But if I didn't have it there and I wanted to upload it, then I would just do this upload extension, go out and find that zip file that I had downloaded from the accelerator catalog. Okay, and you do have to be a portal or a system administrator to be able to invoke this, these extensions. But that's really as hard as it gets. And so now I will go in and I'm going to create a new dashboard. And I am going to use, I do a lot of work with higher ed. So I'm going to find an education data set. And here are all the things that I'm looking at within my data set. And I can see what school it is. It's just an ID for now. And a lot of the measures that go along with that. There's also whether or not it's an accredited university, and then where it actually is. So if I go in and if I look at my visualizations, I see this what if visualization. So I'll just bring that into my dashboard. And so now it's really a matter of filling in your slots over to the right. And what I'm really focused on, I want to understand what is going to be happening to my revenue if I change other things around. So I can add my teacher salaries. And if you remember within Cognos Analytics, we have a lot of analytics that goes on under the covers. So really that augmented intelligence. And one of the capabilities of Cognos Analytics is that it can identify the drivers of what is going on with your data. So here I want to understand what the drivers are of revenue. And you can put different input columns in there from your data set, but let's say that you may not really know some of the things that might be drivers. So I'm going to use this autofill, and so it will go out to my data and it will determine that, here's some other things that you might want to consider in looking at your drivers. And then once you do that, then it's just a simple matter of creating a model. And so this uses machine learning. All this processing actually happens within your browser. So in other words, it doesn't push it to the server. So therefore, if a lot of different people are doing this, it doesn't really bring down, it doesn't cause a performance issue. So at this point, I look and I see that, oh, wow, the prediction strength is 97.7%, which is very, very high. If my prediction strength was not very high, I could go in and do an additional training my model to have it go in and maybe account for other data points that were there. And you'll notice that my numbers here are not identical. Here's my baseline, here's my actual, here's my predicted. And the reason why they're not the same is because of your percentage here. And so now as I look at this, I see that I have 3 different ways to be able to do what-if analysis, and this is based on percentage change. So if I wanted to increase this by 20%, you'll notice that, oh, wow, my revenue is going to go down if I increase my teacher salaries by 20%. And you can also just look at my recruitment cost. And when I increase that, you notice that my revenue actually went up. But if you think about it, if you are spending more money on recruiting, you're bringing more students into your university. And so therefore, you're going to be having more revenue as a result. Also, if I increase the number of classes, then I can see that that will have a positive impact on my revenue as well. Now, all this with a what-if analysis, it is not a replacement. Let me be really clear here. It is not a replacement for planning analytics. And this is really kind of a very good segue from what you saw earlier about going in and being able to change things on the fly and just see what impact it's going to have. But you'll notice that I'm really looking at this at a much higher level. Within planning analytics, you are looking at things more at a more granular level. And so therefore, you're not going to be going in and changing, a specific month or things like that. So it's a much higher level, but the information that you learn from this, then you can actually go over into your planning analytics and be able to tweak that further at a more granular level. You will also notice that you have these context fields, and this is great if you want to focus in on, say, a particular area. So let's say that I want to look at this by state, and you'll notice that you have all these over here, and you really don't want all of those. So let's go in, and I am going to find, of course, the great state of Texas. I wish we could get rid of Tennessee, because then you could go, I always laugh whenever, they're asking you for a state and you put in a T, and of course, Tennessee always outranks us. So here is looking at just for Tennessee. And then I know that I have some of my customers on here from the great state of North Dakota and also Iowa. Let's see what Iowa has to say. Okay, so Iowa's a little bit more than North Dakota, but of course Texas, with it being so big, I'm sure that that's why the numbers are so much larger. But again, this is just a really easy way of going in and kind of playing with your data and understanding, what the drivers are by doing that autofill. And then whenever you train your model, it goes in and actually creates a machine learning model underneath the covers for all this. So just a few points to make here. So when we first looked at this, I showed you that the what if extension, it's downloadable from the accelerators page. Again, be sure and go out to your community, it has lots of good stuff out there. And all extensions are, if you've not worked with them before, it's just really a way to alter what you're currently using or maybe to add new functionality that you need. Again, you need to have a portal or system administrator rights to be able to bring that zip file into your environment under the manage area. It's definitely not a replacement for what if analysis and planning analytics. It's definitely not as granular. And just keep in mind that that machine learning model is built, fitted, and it's actually run in the browser, and it doesn't push anything to the server side. And that really helps the performance from a server perspective. And that's really all I had. I just thought this was a really neat new capability that some of you might not know about. Actually, I learned about this from one of my colleagues that is potentially on this call. So that's all I had. Are there any questions? Yes, no? I'm trying to find my Q&A. Someone asked if this is free as part of 1117, and the answer is yes. It is just part of the main. Whenever you are in 1117, if you just go in and download it, but it does have to be 1117. Oh, and that answers the other question, can it be added to 1114? I do not believe so. So, but can you guys see some great use cases of being able to go in and play with that? I think everybody is on mute at this stage other than me.
Great job, Ava.
Thank you.
Just
Thank
so you know, we're still out here.
Okay, good. Thank you. I didn't know if I was, sometimes whenever it's just really quiet, you're thinking, am I just in my own little vacuum here? So what I will do is I will actually send the just the little slides that I showed you, and it will have the link and everything on there. So that way you can go out and find it. And it also, let me see if I can share again. No, I can't share again. So what I was going to say is whenever you go out to the communities page, and it has, it talks about it. It also has a video that you can watch, and then it talks about how to install the extension. And there was something else. Oh, it also has a data set that is related to a coffee house. I actually used that coffee house data set and just made it focus more on education. So it's all out there, and in the link that I will send you. So we should, it's super simple to do. There's no rocket science. So Jen, I think Jason just joined, and someone needs to unmute him.
I'll add him to the conversation. Just one moment.
Okay. There was a question here about, does this only work with data sets? No. If you, I just used an uploaded file, a CSV file, but if you have a data mart, or, if you have a data module or a package, it should work against that. And just to be specific, data sets are actually, well, data sets means something else within Cognos Analytics, because you can actually create data sets, maybe to summarize things like that. So you can use it with CSV files within dashboards, or you can use a data module type example as well. But great questions. So can Jason talk now?
Yeah, yes, I can, Ava. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for being willing to jump in here and show us where we're going.
All right. So although I've been unmuted, I'm just noticing now I'm not able to share my screen. So for the administrator, please grant me the ability to share, and I'll start. There it is. Thank you.
Should be all ready to go now, Jason.
I am. Oh, it's going to pop that up later. All right. So I'll just jump into that if everyone's okay with that. I understand you had a good morning already of content. What I'm here for is to tell you about the future, what's coming ahead of us in Cognos Analytics, and really builds upon all those AI-infused capabilities we've released in recent years. I'm assuming everyone's up to speed on 11.17. It was a really strong release with a lot of new functionality released in it. So in terms of the future, I am legally obliged to put up this disclaimer, just reminding you that this is software development. Our plans and directions do change. I'm going to do my best to set your expectations properly. And I'm going to try and share as many dates as I can, target dates, because I know how helpful that is for planning your upgrades. But just know, especially when it comes to dates, things get pushed back frequently. So I'll give you the current targets, but just know nothing's set in stone. What you see on the screen right now are the different releases of Cognos Analytics. The latest major release of Cognos that's currently available is 11.17. We had, it is a long-term support release, meaning for a minimum of 2 years, we're going to regularly, and by regularly means, roughly quarterly, release fix packs that, don't change the user experience or anything that would require you to update any training you've included, amongst your users, but do, address any new security vulnerabilities that have been reported and fix, bugs. Update compatibility with technologies that are already supported, just to support the new version. So that's what happens in fix packs. The first fix pack for 11.17 released in October. It actually had a couple new kind of back-end features in it, which is unusual for fix packs. It introduced some new REST APIs for automating some additional types of actions in Cognos. And we're on track for Fix Pack 2 for 11.17 to be released in December this year. Okay, and that's the type of thing that's subject to change. Moving into 2021, the initial release of the next major version of Cognos, 11.2, is we're looking at a roughly late February, March timeframe at this point. And this is one of those things, it does change. A few weeks ago, we're looking to maybe release it late this year, but after more evaluation, we think Q1 2021 is more appropriate for 11.2. The initial release, the numbering will most likely be 11.2.0. And then what you can expect is just like we had with 11.0 and 11.1, there'll be roughly quarterly feature releases, 11.2.1, 11.2.2, 11.2.3, et cetera, all expanding into, new capabilities for Cognos Analytics and improvements in ease of use, just like before. And at some point, and we don't know when it'll be, there will be another long-term support release for 11.2. Okay, I did forget to mention, so 11.0.13, that's the long-term support release for the 11.0 stream. That's on track for end of service. When is it next year? So I think April. End of service doesn't mean end of support. It means it actually moves into continuing support, which is what version 10 is. When it hits that end of service and goes into continuing support, it means we're no longer changing the product at all. We're no more fixed packs, but you can still log IBM support cases to get troubleshooting assistance and have IBM answer technical questions and stuff for that version. But we're at that point. We do this so that our developers can focus on updating the code for fewer streams so that they can do more faster. All right, I'm going to pause here before I move on and see if there's any questions about the different releases and their life cycles. And I'm just realizing that, I don't think most of the audience has their audio on. So if Ava or someone else can just let me know if there's any questions in the chat window. I don't want to pop it open. Otherwise, I'll move on.
I don't see any there right now.
Okay. Okay, I will move on. And, before I exit the WebEx, I'll review the Q&A and answer any questions there. So our vision for Cognos Analytics is to become your AI co-pilot with an integrated, easy to manage, and extensible data and analytics platform. And as your co-pilot for business, you'll be able to be faster and smarter, be further, and be more confident. And generally when we're working on new innovations to introduce into Cognos, we try and align them to one of these things. So does the user become faster and smarter? Are they able to see further, be more confident, and fit with these? So for generally 11.2 stream, this is our general vision, and I'm going to tell you some of the innovations. I'll walk you through some of those we have planned for some of the releases coming out next year. But the very initial release of 11.2.0, it's not introducing a lot of new functionality. The main thing happening in this initial release of 11.2.0 is we're further adopting, conforming to the IBM Carbon design system in terms of the user experience of Cognos Analytics. So if you guys can actually Google IBM Carbon on your own, there's a public web page that explains it. It's a design system for things like styling and colors, buttons, how the user interface and user experience should be. There's a lot of patterns, things like, what do empty states, how does the user experience it, what does it look like, and disabled states, and all the different types of, breadcrumb navigation. So we have been, IBM has invested a lot in establishing one design system that can be applied to all IBM offerings. Cognos is just one of them. So throughout 11.1, 5, 6, and 7, we have moved in that direction. You may have noticed like icons changing and some of the default styling as well. And at this point in time, with the next major release of Cognos, it made more sense to try and surge in this user experience shift rather than incrementally adding more. So that initial release of 11.2 is largely the user interface has been revamped. I'm going to give you a quick preview of what it's going to look like in a second. You'll see that it's not like you won't know what's going on or it's so vast. Like, it is updated, but it's still Cognos Analytics and still supporting all the same functionality you have in 11.1. So I think you'll still be well acclimatized when you go, but you'll see the updated designs. Now, it was a substantial effort. We did update, most of the screens and buttons and stuff in Cognos. And the reason, we invested so much in this is, one, to have improved consistency. We increasingly, our customers are using more and more IBM offerings. And this gets even easier to do if you're using the Cloud Pak for Data platform, which makes it really easy to hook up a number of these different IBM services together. So one, just better consistency and easier to use, Planning Analytics and Cognos Analytics, and be familiar with, how the menus and, how the different types of actions can be invoked work. Of course, we have a great centralized team of designers, updating these patterns and components on a regular basis. The user experience design of software does shift with fashion. So it's not something we want to be complacent on. We want to keep, advancing it appropriately into the future. And of course, these design, components and patterns offer a better branded experience, emphasizing, IBM. And what you'll notice is, as we move forward, we'll be incorporating more of the Watson branding into Cognos Analytics as it gets more of these AI-infused capabilities. But I think the biggest benefit for this design is it frees up, the user experience designers and many of the user interface developers of Cognos Analytics to focus on more of the, unique and interesting aspects of, analyzing, reporting, dashboarding on data, right? The unique aspects of Cognos, rather than, recreating the wheel of here's how OK and cancel should look like, and here's other patterns. So it frees up our designers more time to do these, create these more innovative and interesting experiences that are specific to Cognos, rather than general design patterns. And we've adopted an actual UI toolkit, which if you Google IBM Carbon, you can use yourself. If any of you are building extensions to Cognos, you want to have the same look and feel, and you can get that toolkit, and you'll have all the same 11.2 look and feel. So let me show you just quickly what that looks like, because I know I'm talking about it a lot. So some of the Carbon design patterns, you can see it's more full screen than like in Cognos 11.1, we have a lot of like sliding panels and modal dialog pop-ups. So the Carbon approach is a lot more full screen, for example. Here's what the out-of-the-box like login page will look like. And note that if you customize your login page, it'll still look the same as your custom one. If you have any customization whatsoever, we'll still respect that when you upgrade to 11.2, hopefully next year. But it's, what I'm showing you is what an out-of-the-box new instance of Cognos looks like. So even here on the web page, if you have created customized web pages for different groups of users in your organization, Cognos is really great for that, highly extensible, customizable. Some environments don't have the word Cognos at all, right? It may just reflect your own corporate branding and colors. We'll maintain that when you upgrade. Once again, I'm just showing you what an out-of-the-box new Cognos looks like. So they're here. You can see there'll be a quick launch area. We're working hard on better onboarding experience for new users. So, here just simply kind of guiding them through the main actions, right? First, you upload or connect to data. Then you prepare it with a module, and then you can explore it and present it as like a dashboard, for example. If you go to the user options here, you can see there's a bunch. And if I go to profiles and settings, we've actually introduced some new settings. For example, if you want to control whether a welcome banner, here I'll turn it on. You can see it appears, and there I'll disable it. So This is the kind of out of the box. We have a recent area. If you go here, the designers call it the hamburger menu. You can see here there's also recent area, which I think a lot of our customers were asking for because they customized the homepage, but in doing so, they lost the recent tile area of the homepage. So now it'll still be accessible even if you have a custom web page or dashboard report as your homepage for different users. Here you can see the new option. We can create all the same types of artifacts. What I'll call the legacy studios are still available through here. In this case, I only have access to Workspace, but Query Studio, Event Studio, they'll still be released in 11.2.0. At some point, we will remove them, but we want to make sure that that upgraded content moves on and the users move on in a modern way, but without still losing anything that's important to them. Browsing content, there's another way you can go here. So here you'd see the more of kind of full screen My Content, Team Content. This is these extra tabs would be customized folders you can control for different users. So it doesn't have to be samples. So that's just an example here. You'll also notice search here at the top. So here, if I search for the word coffee, you get a full page of search results rather than, I think today it's just a single panel. You can still zero in on the different types of information you're looking for. If I want to find a particular dashboard, there it is. But you can see how some of the design patterns have changed. You still have the ability to save the search here. Over time, and this won't be in the initial release of 11.2.0, but in a subsequent release, we're working on integrating the AI assistant into the search results. So it's always there, and you'll be able to get kind of AI assistant responses and answers to data in addition to search results. But initially, the search field will just be searches itself. What should I show? Most of the actual interfaces for creating content haven't changed that much. So like here, if I go ahead and edit this data module, you'll see it doesn't look all that different from 11.1. Same features are supported. Just once again, some updated styling and iconography, that type of thing. So I'll pause here once again as I go back into slides and just see if there's any questions about this user experience update that's happening in 11.2. Okay, well, some of the other, oh, go ahead.
I just said it doesn't look like there are. I think you're keeping everybody up to speed.
All right, good. Now, like I said, although this 11.2.0, that initial release is largely, cosmetic, there are a handful of new features that will be released in there. Hopefully earlier today, you saw the new mobile app that we released this past summer. Today, that new mobile app for iPhones and Android coming very soon is only available for Cognos Analytics on cloud. As of 11.2.0, we're looking to support it for client-hosted. We traditionally call this on-premise instances of Cognos Analytics. We call it client-hosted because we're just seeing increasing numbers of customers installing Cognos on infrastructure as a service on AWS or Azure or something, but it's still client-hosted. They're installing, configuring the servers. Yeah, and in this release, we're also will support using the AI assistant on OAuth cubes and dimensional sources of data. There's a couple new types of visualizations you have in dashboards and explorations now, box plot and radar. Some more homepage customization options. I mentioned a few of them before, so you can really tailor that experience for different users, and the users have more control over that initial homepage themselves. And we're also introducing a couple Watson moments. I alluded to them before. So a Watson moment is a highlighted AI implementation. In Cognos, when we say AI, in Fusion, we largely mean, the software is either automating or suggesting something for the user to, accelerate their analysis. So in 11.2.0, we're adding just a couple of these branded moments, largely for functionality Cognos already had. So if you've seen that the AI can generate dashboards for you based on your natural language requests. So and these are designed to not annoy the user. We'll have a few Watson branded pop-ups when it's a particularly something insightful that the AI can do, like highlight a particular insight that is detected in the data, but things can be actionable. So as we move forward with new releases of 11.2, so like I said, 11.2.1, 11.2.2, expect more of these Watson moments to appear when the software can highlight something interesting or do some sort of automation. Maybe joining data to some recommended data, discovering some outliers. I'll show you a few more examples of what's coming. This is what I mean about our innovations, being bucketed into making you faster and smarter, seeing further, or being more confident. So one we're working hard is to give users the option to see profiles of data as they're working with data in a data module or doing something like building a dashboard. So at minimally, it'll give you a histogram of the counts of the unique values in a particular field. So imagine selecting a column in a table and seeing some metrics as to how many unique values are there, what's the range of values, how many are null values, this type of thing. And we're also looking to display that the semantic concepts that the AI associates with different fields of data. So in Cognos 11.1, all the versions, whenever you connect to data, whether it be by uploading data into Cognos or connecting live to a data server like one of your data warehouses or data lakes, the Cognos software initially scans through a statistical sample of each of the tables in the data you've connected to. And from that statistical sample infers a number of characteristics, some of them being it associates concepts from the internal ontology of Cognos with each of the columns in each of the tables. So the ontology is a repository for real-world ideas, things like location, cost, money, time. And the software essentially tags, makes these associations. In 11.1, it's not so visible that it's doing these things. But it really helps a lot of those AI features. For example, if the user in natural language says, where are my best sales? Where implies a location. So the software will attempt to, answer using the fields that represent location. So if the values in that sample, when you connect, look like countries that it recognizes, it'll associate the country concept with that field. And, if a particular field is associated with locations, well, a map is often the best way to visualize that data. Hence, the AI will favor maps when it comes to automating visualization. So as part of this profiling, we'll make it more transparent what concepts are associated with fields. You can see a little pencil button there to edit the concepts that are associated with different fields, just in case the AI got it wrong. But more importantly, for those who are authorized, this will be a controlled capability, just like everything in Cognos. Being able to control what is the vocabulary of concepts that the AI understands, and be able to alter that vocabulary for different groups of users, including introducing new concepts. We know businesses operate with a lot of jargon, right? Abbreviations, acronyms, specialized terms that aren't even common in the industry, are very specific to a particular, or company. Certainly that's true here at IBM. We use a lot of acronyms. So we'd like to be able to allow you, as subject matter experts of your business, to enter new, terminology, concepts into the AI's vocabulary, and add some characteristics for each of those. So including, synonyms. What are different ways that users may refer to the same concept in their natural language conversations? Which concepts get compared to one another? if we know that concepts A and B should always be compared, when you connect to data that we detect those two concepts in the data, we can then automate, visualizations that facilitate those comparisons. So it's helpful information. And if it's a new concept, here it shows as interestingness. You can think of it as importance. Basically, it'll influence how likely is the AI to recommend some data that's associated with this particular concept. We know some fields of data are, primary of high interest, and other fields of data are more kind of niche supporting fields, but not the primary ones. So we want to give you more control over how the AI prioritizes different recommendations. And if it's a new concept, the software can't inherently know are higher values good or bad, right? Even something like inventory, which is already understood by the AI, it may vary from situation to situation whether high inventory is good or bad. So the idea is you'll be able to, for different groups of users, edit and extend upon those core concepts, add your own, and then this concept definition is done independently of data, right? These are just the concepts. But once we understand that, those same concepts could be applied to hundreds of data sources when you connect to them. I know this is a big idea. I'm just going to pause here and see if any questions before I show a few other interesting things. Okay, well, everyone's free to email me or reach out through Ava or someone else or to me directly if you have any follow-up questions on this. Here's another way where
I'm sorry, Jason. There was one quick question. A user asked if we can send the link over to the communities page. Can we provide that to them in chat?
Yeah, when I'm done presenting, I'll put a link to our community page in the chat.
I can do that. In fact, I was going over to look at that right now, and then here we are having this conversation. So I'll take care of that, Jason. It's all good.
All right, perfect. Thanks. So up on the screen here is just another way to really tune those AI capabilities of Cognos Analytics for your specific business understanding. So this is another way geared at a subject matter expert who could just basically associate different groups of users with folders of saved content that will train the AI. This feature was conceived from getting a lot of feedback from customers like yourselves who are uncomfortable with the AI learning from every single interaction, where some users maybe just be, playing around or, doing, not actually doing deep analysis or doing kind of more fringe analysis. So what we heard from our customers is they want to be able to train the AI with best of breed exemplars of content. So basically folders of some curated dashboards where the AI can learn which subset of fields within a particular data source are of most importance, which fields tend to be combined together, be examined using that together, and also which types of visualizations are the most popular with a particular group of user. So the idea is to be able to create these rules where you say for user group 1, maybe it's finance, here's a folder of some dashboards, learn from those dashboards and weigh what you discover in those dashboards higher when the AI is making automation recommendations to those users. Here's a different folder for what did I say the first time? Was it finance users? Now I'll do HR. HR users have a different set of metrics that they analyze. So here's a different set of dashboards for HR users, and let's have those recommendations follow suit. So like I said, for the initial release of training the AI with saved content, we're primarily interested in having the AI learn the combination of fields that are most important and go together and the types of visualization. So you can imagine over time, the amount we can learn from saved dashboards is limitless, right? It's, it could include color palettes and how the data should be formatted and certain layout preferences. So over time, you can expect the AI will learn more and more from this saved content that you've want to train the AI with. And we've been adding, trying to do more types of purpose-built analysis. So this, what you're seeing on the screen is just a dev prototype that we've been working on, where the user can choose a particular target and identify the change in that target that they want to see. So in this case, it's 15%. And then what's going to happen is the software will use machine learning to identify what are the values needed in all the detected drivers of that target to achieve that goal. So what do some of the other variables found in the data, what values do they need to be for the target to be the desired change? Also, you know, if you think of the traditional business intelligence, how did we perform? The next generation is, why did we perform that way? What can we do to improve that performance in the future? So for the AI to be able to explain the causal effects of different drivers on your performance targets are pretty important. And we've been experimenting with different ways to do these explanations of the cause-effect relationship. You know, some of it is kind of just like how the software generates dashboards today, to be able to generate a infographic style explanation where it's not just visuals, it's a combination of visuals and natural language, which we really see as the future, right? One without the other is missing part of the explanation. In this case, what you're seeing is a prototype where the AI is generating that explanation as an animated story. So it's using some visuals here and some natural language to explain how different forces detected in the data affect a particular target. And you know, our vision for the AI assistant of Cognos Analytics is to be able to allow you to configure it to work in conjunction with other chatbots and conversational agents. Most notably, Watson Assistant is an IBM offering that allows you to develop your own chatbot. It's been really popular. You can train different Watson Assistant instances on different skills. This one you're seeing on the screen, it was a Watson Assistant trained to answer questions around COVID-19. So the idea is, and the vision is, all these different services can be configured to work together such that when a user utters something in natural language, either by voice or text, that what they entered could be routed to all the services, and the response the user sees is from the service that has the highest confidence in responding based on the subject matter of what the user enters. So if it's a question about data, I would expect, you know, a Cognos software response with, you know, visualizations or maybe that infographic I was talking about. If it's a question on some other subject matter, you know, maybe something that the Watson Assistant has been, you know, has the skills or has been trained on, you'd see the response there. In the lab, you know, we had someone hooked it up with a Dungeons and Dragons game. So if you ask about, you know, dragons and ogres, you get a response from the game. If you ask, you know, revenue by year, it's a response from Cognos. And here are some other examples of, like I said, those Watson moments that are coming. So one of them on track for next year is to automatically translate a dashboard. If you have users with different language settings, it can automate the translation of all the metadata of the dashboard by using a Watson translation service automatically. And another one where if you want to create a new dashboard by providing an image, it'll automate as much of that as possible. So like the layout, the colors, if it can see the values of the data, try to associate them with any data you've selected. And like I said, you know, a lot more of these Watson moments throughout the next release coming. So things like when you're preparing data, some like calculations or something to be automated, some filters, it may come up as a suggestion, which the user can confirm or decline if they want that to take place. Up here are a few other innovations. So today we've had a really popular feature around doing time series forecasting. The algorithms used today are what we call univariate. They're just looking at the same historical trends. so the historical values of the visualization. But we know we want to allow you to do multivariate, where it's considered many more variables in making those forecasting predictions. You can see a few other examples here of innovations we're working on up on the screen. I know I'm past time, so I don't want to take, I think we have some trivia games coming. Let me just stop here and see if there's any questions or feedback anyone would like to share.
Hey, Jason, I don't see, maybe somebody else sees something that I don't, but I don't think there's any questions. You've done such a great job of overwhelming us with all this great information. And overwhelming was a strong word. I think it's lots of,
good.
yeah, just, you know, lots of really good things. And it's great for, you know, we've been together as a user group now for 9 years, and some of the people are fairly new. They're kind of our outlying attendees since we've gone virtual now. So we have people from, you know, not just in North Texas. So it's been great to be able to include people from other areas. So it's good for them to see what, you know, where the Cognos Analytics product is headed. So any questions, just put them in the chat or your Q&A. So something was said, somebody asked the question, we are using 11.0.8 Cognos version. I am unable to edit reports in Chrome. Will there be any issue using Chrome with new versions out there?
I think I know what they're talking about. So there was a Chrome update. I think it was 85 that just broke some things in Cognos, and we fixed it in, of course, 11.1. There may be an 11.0.13 update for it as well, but there would not be one for 11.0.8. So you really need to upgrade to get that resolved. I really recommend, if you're going to do an upgrade, 11.1.7 is a great release to upgrade production to. Just really strong and new capability, many user experience improvements. It's really hard to use 11.1.6 or 5 when you've used 11.1.7, but also it's that long-term support release, meaning should something in the future come out, like a Chrome update that breaks things that we can't, you know, it's in the future, we can't do anything about now, it'll be fixed in 11.1.7 in an upcoming, you know, fixed pack or interim fix, whereas, you know, the releases like 11.1.6 that are not long-term support releases won't benefit from that maintenance.
Right. And I know some people that went from 10 to 11, there was potentially some challenges there, but going from 11.0 to 11.1, that transition is much easier. So
for sure. What we found is that customers were relatively slow and hesitant to upgrade from 10 to 11, but once they've upgraded to any 11, they're much faster at keeping up with newer releases of 11.
Yes, definitely. Well, Jason, thank you so much for joining our little group here, and you've given us a lot of insightful information. And if any questions come up after the fact, I'll reach out to you.
Thank you, Ava,
That's
and
okay.
thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
All right, thanks, Jason. Bye.
Bye.
All right, everybody. This is Jen, marketing at eCapital. I hope you guys are still on the line and interested in playing our fun trivia game. The instructions are on the screen right now. As Matt's mentioning kind of in the chat window, unless you have two screens, it's easier to kind of do one on your phone, maybe, or one on an iPad, because you'll see the questions displayed on the WebEx, and then you'll have to answer on your other browser. So Go to kahoot.it and enter the game pin that you see there. Enter a nickname or your name, whatever you want to call yourself. Questions are going to appear on the webinar screen. I think there's 11 or 12 questions. You'll have, I think, 20 seconds to answer. You get points based on how fast you answer and how correct you answer. So if you get it right and you answer, wins this trivia is going to get a $100 Best Buy gift card. So if you are the winner at the end, make sure you either reach out to Ava or put your real name, potentially, in the chat window so we know who to send the virtual gift card to. So we'll give a few people time to get on there and make sure that you got the PIN number. I see there's probably about 20 people in the game right now. And again, I'll show my screen in a minute, but give you a chance to get to kahoot.it. PIN number is 495-3557. And then Mitch and Brady are going to join me in sort of emceeing the game and adding some color to some of the questions that we have. You guys are doing good. I keep seeing more people pop in. Let me, Ryan, why don't you transfer it over to me and I'll share my screen. We'll put the PIN number in the chat window if we need to. All right, so I'm going to share this screen. All right, hopefully you guys see that on the WebEx.
Yep, we can see it, Jen.
Okay, perfect. It's hard to tell when you're the one presenting. You don't actually know what's happening. Can't actually see it. So look to see if your name is on there. Like I said, I'll give it another minute to have you guys get in there. And you can see the PIN number on the top here. So it's kahoot.it. All right, let's go ahead and get the game started. We've got a few minutes, but I think we're slowing down on the people entering in. So I think you can join at any time. But here we go.
All right, let's get started here. All right, what year was IBM founded? 1911, 1926, 1952, or 1961?
Oh, I see people just right under the window entering.
and the correct answer is 1911. It was first called Computing, Tabulating, Recording Company, but changed to IBM in 1924.
All right. So here's the leaderboard.
Got Gina in first place, L 830, Marine 795. Marine, do you have access to the questions though? You might know all the answers.
No, I don't, but having worked for IBM and went through their 100-year anniversary back a decade ago. So I did know that one.
IBM does not have the answer. They don't. IBM doesn't have the questions. We're good.
But I know I'm not eligible. I'm just playing for fun.
Perfect.
All right.
Sounds good. All right. Which of these is not an IBM product? Cognos Analytics, Maximal Asset Performance Management, Mobile Media Manager, or Watson Studio? And the correct answer is Mobile Media Manager.
Ooh, we threw a few people with that one. We had kind of split on two.
All right, so we have Ava and Marine. They're on the top 5 right now. We got Doug, Kevin, and Gina still leading, #1 right now. True or false? In 2013, Watson, the IBM computer, defeated 2 Human Jeopardy champions and proved the prowess of artificial intelligence.
Everybody answered.
The correct answer is false.
Oh, shoot, it's actually supposed to be true. I did that wrong. That was totally me.
Add to that, or anybody want to add to that?
Or was it 2012?
No, you know what? This was my fault. I did the question wrong. It was, I changed, that was totally me. It was, I had it originally saying defeated 3 Human Jeopardy champions and I never changed it, but the answer is actually true.
That's making me feel better.
Well,
I know. I'm sorry, guys. I screwed it up for all of you.
Jen.
I know. I'm so sorry. I was going to double check it and I kind of forgot.
All good. All good.
Details.
I know. Sorry,
Details. Whoever got it right, man.
guys. All right. All right. Let's go to the next one.
Perfect. How many members are in the North Texas IBM Cognos user group? Under 100, 101 to 200, 201 to 300, or 300 plus?
Ava, you get to add context to this one.
It's kind of cheating for me to answer. Well, it tells me that my answer is wrong.
Oh, well, you gave me the answer. It was about 150 are, for the most part, active in the user group. You guys contact a couple hundred, but for the most part, on an active, consistent basis, it's about 150.
Okay, well, there you go.
That's probably true. I got it wrong because I just went based on our distribution list, which is very dirty. It's 10 years old, 9 years old.
All right, we have a new leader. Kevin is number 1. Edgar Lee is number 2. Gina Marine and Doug in the top 5. The highest climber is Ev. All right, the primary function of this user group is to discover local restaurant venues and write food reviews for Publica, volunteer your time and resources within the local community, test video game software for product development teams, or connect people to share strategies and best practice around a give.
It should be a given topic.
Given product.
It cuts off my answer.
Product.
Oh.
Yeah, I was like, a given product. And connecting people is correct. Kevin moved up to number 1.
All right.
Go, Kevin.
True or false? RPA is intended to replace humans.
You know, I was never good at video games, and now I understand why.
RPA, it is false. RPA works alongside humans to make their lives easier. RPA software carries out jobs that are repetitive and mundane. This will enable you to focus on fruitful endeavors, thus improving efficiency. That was an exact word for word from Jake Robbins, the RPA practice lead here at eCapital.
All right.
All
Kevin,
right.
in the lead.
All right. What does TM1 mean? Translation memory, table manager, technical management, or training module? All IBMers should get this.
Unless I wrote the answer wrong and coded it incorrectly.
Please, I hope you didn't. The correct answer is table manager.
Okay, at least I did that
as
right.
Brady highlighted
On our
earlier.
toes.
As Brady highlighted earlier, table manager was started in 1983 and has gone through numerous acquisitions, with IBM acquiring Cognos in 2007. Edgar Lee takes the lead. Everyone's got 15 players have a 3-answer streak. They're crushing it right now. All right. How many players were involved in the trade of Herschel Walker from the Dallas Cowboys to the Minnesota Vikings in 1989?
Oh my
Was
gosh.
it 4, 7, 18, or 23?
So my
Look at
answer
Brady's
would be,
smile.
who cares?
Brady Marquez.
I came up with this one because eCapital is based in Minnesota, but those of us in Texas really do love this trade.
Oh
The
my
correct
gosh.
answer is 18. Brady,
my
expand
gosh.
on it.
There was both players and draft picks, but basically the Cowboys ended up getting a lot of players, including like Emmitt Smith and others who basically contributed to their big Super Bowl run.
Well, that was the
For
end
Herschel
of the streaks right there.
All right.
All right. What Dallas Cowboys running back set the NFL record with a 99-yard touchdown against the Minnesota Vikings on Monday Night Football? Was it Tony Dorsett, Julius Jones, Herschel Walker, or Emmitt Smith?
I think I just
The funny
answered
thing is-
wrong.
And the funny thing is that the Vikings and the Cowboys play this week, and is it Sunday afternoon? I don't think it's Monday night.
I didn't know that
The
this was
correct-
going to be sports trivia, but okay.
Well, you got to mix it up a little bit.
I
the
guess.
correct answer is Tony Dorsett. And Doug takes the lead. Ava is number 2. Al has the highest answer streak of 5. Edgar Lee is 4th, and Gina is 5th. Got 2 questions left, I believe. What year did IBM purchase Cognos for $4.9 billion? 2003, 2007, 2008, or 2010?
$4.9 billion still just seems like a massive number to me.
And the correct answer is 2007. So, or what was it? Cognos acquired Applix in 2007, then IBM acquired Cognos 2 months later.
Yep.
How old were you then, Mitch? 6?
Say again?
How old were you? 6?
13 years old.
Ava, you redeemed yourself.
Great.
Yeah, well, I
Ava's
was
number
paying
1 right
attention.
now.
I was paying attention earlier.
Props to you.
All right.
Last one. In the famous 80s television show Dallas, which character supposedly shot J.R. Ewing? Bobby Ewing, Kristen Shepard, Sue
Oh my gosh.
Ellen Ewing, or Vaughn Leland?
I don't know this one.
Kristen Shepard, J.R.'s sister-in-law and mistress.
Well, wonder how many
Right.
got that right.
I actually got that one right after a losing streak.
Ev number 2, Gina number 2, Ev number 3, and the winner is Ava.
Oh, no. Well, I can't win, so it goes to number 2, which is Gina.
All right. Gina won.
Woohoo! Way to go,
So
Gina.
Yeah, in the chat window, Gina, will you put, I think there's probably only one Gina, but if you put your full name and email address, we'll make sure you get that gift card sent off to you ASAP. All right. Thanks, Ryan. You can stop the sharing. I think Ava will just do a quick closeout.
Okay. So thanks everybody for joining today. Hopefully you got some things out of it. Again, this meeting is being recorded. So, and Jen, I'm not quite sure how you want to go about giving people access to that. But anyway, we will be in touch, and our next users group meeting will be in February, and LPA will be sponsoring. It's highly probable that it will continue to be virtual, which is actually good because it gives some of our remote people the ability to join in and learn. And we may try to look at, once we go back to being in person, to figure out a way to continue the virtual part of it as well. And ECAP, thank you guys so much for sponsoring today, and we really appreciate you guys. Lots of great content, and I think that it was useful for everyone. So if there's no other questions, oh, you know what? Hang on. So, Gina is actually an IBMer as well. She just put in a random She just, so do you remember who was number 3? Was it Ev? Evie?
Ev did.
So, yeah. So, who was that person? If you could put it in the chat really quick, that would be great. Thank you, Neha, for pointing that out. So now every time I talk to you, I'm going to call you Gina. So, do we know who number 3 was?
I thought 3 was Doug, but I don't think he was eligible either.
No, that I think it was Evie.
The EV, okay.
EL or EV? Okay.
Is EV. So
Yeah. Okay. So do we have an EV on the list?
I've got the list, guys. They're sending it to me privately. I'm not sure if they want me sharing it with everyone.
Okay.
But I've got it
Okay.
here.
Okay, perfect.
Perfect.
At least you know the contact information. So that's awesome. And
Thanks,
thank
Mary.
you, whoever you are, for doing so well.
Yeah.
So without further ado, I think this is a wrap up. Anything else anybody wants to say just to end this? Are we good?
I think
thank
we're
you
good.
for
I
your time
guess,
today, guys.
yeah, perfect timing. And I guess
Yes.
we'll look at February 18th. I was just looking at the calendar.
Okay, perfect.
Good.
Okay, thank you guys.
Have a good day,
Happy
everyone.
Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Stay safe.